Chris Christie went on Fox News Sunday with Chris Wallace, and he gave the quintessential Chris Christie rebuttal to a question about the minimum wage.
America who are saying, you know, honey, if our son or daughter could just make a higher minimum wage, my God, all our dreams would be realized.
Governor, while everyone agrees that we need better paying jobs, for people who are making $7.25 an hour, the minimum wage now, they say that getting an increase of $10 an hour would make a big difference in their lives, and that you were being cavalier about it.
Not being cavalier at all, Chris. I'm saying it exactly as I see it. What we need to do in this country is not have a debate over a higher minimum wage. We have to have a debate over creating better paying middle class jobs in this country. And if that somehow doesn't comport with what people in the political elite want, well, I'm sorry. But I know, talking to families across New Jersey and now across this country, that what they're aspiring to is to have good-paying, middle-class jobs for their children to take, and even higher, so that they can have a stable home life, so that they can have the ability to go away on a vacation if they'd like to, so they can have the ability to save for their children to go to college. That's the kind of future that people in this country want. And the debate we need to be having is how to have a better pro-growth economy that's growing jobs and good-paying jobs. Jobs at places like Motorola Solutions or other kind of places across the country, other great businesses that operate in New Jersey and in other places across the country that create those kind of really great-paying middle-class jobs. That's the debate we should be having. There's not just income inequality in this country, Chris. The bigger problem is opportunity inequality. And that's what mothers and fathers are sitting around kitchen tables talking about, wanting for their children's future. And that's exactly what I was saying at the Chamber of Commerce, and I don't back off from those comments 1 inch.
That's the Chris Christie Playbook on Politics 101. Did you catch everything there? Step 1 is be condescending. No matter what the question is, you have to react like it's absurd before you even hear it. Step 2 is be tough. Tough guy, Chris Christie. I'm not backing down from anything. I'm not backing down an inch. I'm not backing down a millimeter. Somebody get me a meatball sub over here. And then step 3 is you call your opponents elitists and you make yourself out to be a populist, even though you are the exact opposite of that. I mean, think about how absurd that is, that he's slamming the idea of an increase in the minimum wage, yet he's painting himself as a populist and his opponents as elitists. Right, the people working at Burger King and McDonald's, they're total elitists. And you're really looking out for the little guy by arguing against a minimum wage increase. And I love how he's acting like he has a majority on his side. Hey, Chris, have you seen the polls? 80% of the American people are in favor of a minimum wage increase. That includes a majority of Democrats, independents, and Republicans, your people, and not just northeastern liberal Republicans. We're talking about even the deepest red Republicans. A majority of them believe in raising the minimum wage. So you're not helping yourself. Again, he paints it like he's speaking for some sort of a silent majority, but he's not. And for just once in my life, I would love to see somebody in the mainstream media fire back against this stupid talking point and slap it down. Because apparently this is the new talking point that all the Republican politicians are going to, where they say, well, we shouldn't be talking about the minimum wage. We should be talking about getting better jobs that are higher paying. I mean, it's such a deflection. It's an apples and oranges conversation. Everybody wants to have higher paying jobs across the board. There's no doubt about that. But there are always going to be people making the minimum wage. So then it just becomes a question of, do you want to pay those people working minimum wage jobs enough money for them to survive? And the answer to that is yes. And if you're not in favor of that, you're just cold-hearted. You can try to sugarcoat it and use flowery rhetoric to dance around it, but the reality is, if you're not in favor of paying minimum wage workers enough money to survive when it's their job, I mean, you're cold-hearted. And then they'll always respond with, well, the minimum wage jobs are supposed to be for teenagers who are in college or who are in high school, and it shouldn't be something that they could live on. But what does that disregard? That disregards the reality that under 30% of minimum wage workers are high school and college workers. Now the average age of a McDonald's worker is 29 years old. So these are jobs where it's people's careers, and they're stuck there because there are no other higher paying jobs for them to go to. So again, it becomes a question of, are we going to be kind enough to pay people a living wage when they're working a full-time job and they're just trying to create a good life for themselves and their families? And Chris Christie says no to that. 80% of the American people say yes to that. So he could try to paint it like he's a tough guy, and he can try to paint it like the other people are elitists, but he's the elitist because he's with the establishment. He's with the multinational corporations. He's with Wall Street. He's with the billionaires. So he's trying to paint himself as a populist when he's slamming the populists, and he's trying to paint them as elitists when he's an elitist.